Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast embracing the tried, tested, and true strategy of splitting up episodes into multi-part sagas. Welcome to the podcast. I'm David Lloyd, and in this episode, we continue our celebration of the greatest moments in RPG history. Last episode, we left off on a massive cliffhanger in the PS1 era, and here joining me to talk about the obvious and very clear greatest moment or biggest moment, most important, craziest is from that era is fellow Final Fantasy VII stan, Casey Gibson.
Yeah, I heard Final Fantasy VII needed some gassing up, so I came a running.
Yeah, we unfortunately missed you on the big 300th episode, but when we got to the end, I said we cannot talk about Final Fantasy VII without Casey here. It's just the game will not get its due without my cohort. We have to leave this to another episode. So we kind of 1960s Batman it with we'll cut same bat time, same bat channel for part 2 of the big episode. So yeah, we're kind of picking up where we left off, and I do find it funny though that we went through the NES and SNES eras, and I know that you're a big retro.
Yeah, this is my favorites. Yeah,
yeah, like we jumped your favorites. I remember even when we were doing like the best games from the past 25 years, you kept trying to sneak in older
like
games that had
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, he's like, it was on DS. Come on, guys, Super Mario RPG.
Yep, yeah. There are a lot of great games from back then.
Yep,
but we got some good ones to talk about too.
Yeah, we got some big ones. So we did talk a little bit about some from this era. I think it was funny. I had to go back to the notes and be like, I don't even remember what we talked about at the end, but I'm pretty sure we talked about Deus Ex or Deus Ex or however you want to pronounce it from this era, and also I believe we talked about pulling the Master Sword from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And that just left us with one game left in that kind of 64-bit CD-ROM era. Yeah.
Oh.
But if you if you think there's a moment that I think the greatest moment of Quest 64 was when I threw my Nintendo 64 out the window with it still in the cartridge.
Yeah, I was going to say the disappointment of running from town to town and not really knowing what the heck was going on. But it did have some pleasant music.
Yeah, it was. I guess that's, if we have to say something nice about it, that's what I would pick.
It had nice sharp edges on the buildings too.
There's a lot of free space in the overworld.
Yeah, lots of room to move around.
Yeah, you don't go all that fast, but there's lots of room.
Too funny.
No, I think the biggest moment, especially if you were there alive in video game land at the time, is the big scene from Final Fantasy VII. Like this was the game that really started the JRPG craze. Like I know, obviously, Final Fantasy, 1 on NES and 4 and 6 were big on Super Nintendo, but this really put Square on the map. It really put JRPGs into the hearts of the Western audiences. This game, like decades after its release, still casts a huge shadow on the video game industry. And the moment that we're going to talk about still lives in infamy to this day, and it's the. Well, I get there's no. Should I even say spoilers? It just seems kind of redundant.
Yeah,
but
at this point, yeah,
it's kind of redundant. Okay. The Aerith or Eris back then death scene is still huge.
Oh,
huge.
What spoiler? No.
Yeah. It's funny. Like my experience with the game, like I definitely didn't play it in the moment, like when it first came out. Like this is a game I ended up coming back to because. Beyond, even though the popular belief at this point is that I'm not a huge Nintendo booster, I was growing up definitely a Nintendo fanboy. I was one of the people drinking the Kool-Aid when the folks at Nintendo said cartridges are still better than CDs because there's no loading times. That I was telling my buddies on the schoolyard, you have to wait for your games to load. I just turned it on and I'm like,
And I
you
just
know,
play, you losers.
I just play. I don't need a PlayStation. But then PlayStation 2 hit, and I was like, oh, I kind of really need a PlayStation. So yeah, I was a little late to the game, but because the internet wasn't a thing back then, I was not aware of this whole phenomenon.
You weren't
Uh,
spoiled.
I was not spoiled and it's funny too because as a teenager who didn't understand relationships, I was under the false impression that Aerith was the what do you call it, the love interest of Cloud. Like I just assumed like they were the boyfriend and girlfriend of this game.
Mm.
um
We all make
in
mistakes.
We all make mistakes. That it's a youthful mistake. Now that I'm older and understand things, Tifa is obviously the best girl. But yeah, back then it was like, oh my god, they killed Cloud's girlfriend. Like, are you even allowed to do this? This
Yeah,
is
that's
this
wild.
she must come back at some point. And it's like, nope, this was it. This was the sacrifice to save Gaia, or to save the to get the holy materia. This is what needed to be done, and it was a moment that lives on and still reverberates to this day.
Yeah, I forget exactly how it was spoiled for me. So I didn't have a PlayStation. My neighbor did, and any PlayStation exposure I had was really because of them. So like, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Diablo, like these were all games they were playing, or my neighbor was playing on his PlayStation and was not letting me play. So I feel like it's funny, like looking back at like some of my favorite games of all times. Uh, were essentially games my freaking neighbor wouldn't let me play for years on end. So the festering was to play that game was I guess real. But yeah, so I don't remember because I was on the internet pretty early. So like and on forums and message boards and stuff. So I don't remember if it was spoiled via that or if my neighbor would have spoiled it. Honestly, that certainly wouldn't surprise me. So I knew about it going in, but yeah, I didn't end up playing Final Fantasy VII until I played on the PC. I got the PC port, and I
Oh yeah, I
remember
remember that.
I was playing it, and I remember I got like I don't want to say deathly sick, like I wasn't actually deathly sick, but I had like the worst stomach bug of all time for like a week. And I remember I was playing and really enjoying it. Then I got sick and like didn't move for like 5 days, and then I just never got back into it. And then yeah, ultimately got a PlayStation down the line and played it. But yeah, I remember that was like the moment. Everyone like right. It was probably a meme before memes were a thing, where whereas like
Yeah.
people just like spoiling it and making jokes in reference to it. But yeah, it was definitely um, a wild thing for them to do, especially after six, right? Like, well, not especially, but like even with six, like how, and I guess spoilers for six as well. How like Kefka, right, like pulls it off, and you're like, oh my god, like I wasn't expecting that. That's crazy. Like
Yeah.
the bad guy never wins. So I wonder if it was like partially like we need to up the oh my god factor, and have that moment,
Yeah.
or like how, or if it just blew up beyond what they could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy definitely has no shortages of big moments. That's
Mm.
that's for sure.
It's
Uh,
like when 15 Pocket Edition released. Woohoo!
oh, the biggest disappointment in Final Fantasy history. Um, is there any? I know we covered a few last episode, but any other big moments for you in this era?
I mean, I guess I guess for me would maybe like going back to some Diablo stuff, because yeah, like right, uh N64 didn't really have like too many great RPGs, and even like like Galton Legends was great, but like it wasn't really a great moment per se. It was just a fun game. Um, I think like Diablo at the end of Diablo, how he takes the Soul Stone and like jams it in his head, and then he becomes like the vessel for Diablo in Diablo 2. I remember that being like, oh my god, like that's pretty insane moment. Um, being a big Diablo fan, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely nothing, uh, nothing close to the cultural, um, you know, impact that Aerith had.
Yeah. Well, it's funny and I think of like there being three Final Fantasies in that the PlayStation 1 era, all excellent games. Final Fantasy 8 had I, I I don't know, I don't think it would be considered greatest RPG moment, but I was definitely blown away when we ended up in space in that game. That wasn't very much a what happened moment.
I still need
Um,
to play that game, man. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I
I
guess I
have the
spoiled
remaster.
that part for you, but when
No,
you get
that's
there,
okay.
it's no less jarring when you get there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll forget by the time I get around to it.
Yeah, and then yeah, Final Fantasy 9 again, like that was more of a callback to older Final Fantasy. So I don't know if there was necessarily moments like there was a lot of the
Oh,
game was
Vivi,
great. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
in his town of his homies, dude. Oh my god.
yeah. I guess that was like a surprising moment when he found out that his backstory, or whatever. But
Yeah, but
um,
nothing. I don't think anything from that era could top really. You know what I mean? Could top Aerith. Like I guess not really RPG, but I was like maybe like Half Life. How big that was. Like had probably had some moments that like live up there. But yeah,
yeah.
obviously not really an RPG.
Yeah, so well, I guess we can continue on. We're gonna see how far we get this episode. I'm not guaranteeing that we'll get up to
Yeah.
the current generation with the
Well,
way things
episode
go.
300's topic should take 3 episodes.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, we can move on to the PS2, GameCube, Xbox. I don't know if did you have you? I never owned an Xbox, like an original Xbox, ever in my lifetime. I don't know about you.
No, not me. I had a 360.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
never the OG.
Yeah, never.
I didn't have a PS. I've never had a PS2 actually
You've
either.
never
So
had a PS2?
nope. I have had a PS1, 4, and 5.
That's funny, eh? Because the PS2, like for me, my PS2 was like my PS1 because basically I just played all the PS1 games on my PS2.
Yeah,
Um,
I never got it. Like I got a PS1 years later. Um, like maybe even like after PS3 was already out.
yeah,
So yeah, I was definitely late to the party in terms of PlayStation.
yeah. My original, so I had one. I had launch. I got it at launch, and so I had like the PS2 that was basically like very close to the size of the PS5. It's like this big beast.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it has the CD tray would come in and out or whatever, and then eventually I don't remember when there was a hard drive edition that came out, and I don't remember what the hard drive was for. I almost want to say it was for Final had something to do with Final Fantasy 11 because like there was a hard drive, but then it also had like the Ethernet cable to connect. But I never
Mm,
actually played
used
Final,
it.
as far as I remember. I don't remember playing Final Fantasy 11, but I don't know.
Hmm.
I was even
Yeah.
mad back then that it was an MMO. I
Yeah.
was
What
like,
is this garbage?
yeah, it's like I want my Final Fantasies to be offline. What the hell is this?
I mean, honestly,
Um,
even just the Final Fantasy 11 would probably be a pretty big moment to have an MMO that you could play on your PlayStation.
yeah, well, I guess that's the thing. Like, because that was kind of like around when online was really starting to take
Yeah,
off.
like with Xbox, right? Xbox Live really
Yeah,
moved the needle with all that.
but it's funny. I've still played that PS2. Like, I still have it. I ended up getting a slim one as well later on when the slims came out because it's like night and day the size. But
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, but my
It's
OG PlayStation is hilarious, or PlayStation 2 is hilarious because it sounds like a jet engine when I'm trying to play it now. Like that fan is so loud. I don't know if it was that loud when I was a kid, but
I
uh,
remember my brother's friend. brought the PS2 over to our house like shortly after it came out. And I remember it was like the hot ticket, obviously.
Yeah.
And I remember this kid, my brother's friend, his sister was in my grade, and she like I didn't like her too much, and I remember just being like she's like, yeah, my brother won't let me play the PlayStation 2. I was like, oh, that's right, huh? He let me play it the other night. Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
yeah, I do remember being like, oh my god, this thing is cool.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy X was massive. Like I got it as soon as it came out. Yeah. Oh man, that laugh. See, but even like the introductory movie, like to have that cutscene at the beginning of the game was like, it was such a moment of like, oh man, we're in a new generation now. Like this is insane. Like to go
You could
from
do this on the N64.
that would be like the whole cartridge. It would just be like the intro, and then it's like, well, that's all we
Yeah,
could
that's
fit.
it. Yeah,
I
that's it.
hope you enjoyed it.
On
Oh,
one of those StarCraft sized cartridges too.
yeah. Oh man, like it was incredible. Like that whole. So when Sin attacked Xanderkin, like that whole cutscene is just like blew me away. Huge moment. It was basically like, here we are. We're in. This is the true 3D era. With full voice cast, insane music. Like we're in it now. This is the future of
Game
JRPGs.
changer, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
it's
yeah,
sad we'll never get those jumps again.
I know.
Like
Well,
so
that's the
crazy.
thing. Like, yeah, like now it's just I don't know. It's like such incremental upgrades. Like I know when you go like PS4, PS5, you go from like HD to 4K or whatever, but it's still like I don't know. It
No,
doesn't
it's
feel as big a
nothing.
jump.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely crisp, more crisp, and like the load times, generally speaking, have been getting
Oh yeah.
faster and stuff. But yeah, it's
Mm.
like it's yeah, just seeing that like because I remember playing like WWE, well, probably WWF at the time, but No Mercy for N64, and just be like, yeah, like we've
Yeah.
hit the pinnacle, boys. Like this is that we're no, there's nowhere to go from, nowhere to go up from here.
Yeah. Well, and
And
then
then
yeah,
yeah,
I had SmackDown on PS2, and yeah, you'd think they're like 20 years apart.
yeah, it's so funny, dude, unbelievable.
Yeah. And then you look at the actual like years, that is probably like 3 or 4 years difference. Is crazy. I guess I was also into PC gaming at this point too. This was I guess this would have been like I had just gotten into university, and between classes I had like I remember getting this really insane laptop in my third year of university that could basically play everything. It was like the most decked out laptop I could find, and I was playing all those Star Wars games that came out.
512 megabytes of RAM.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Back then, that'd probably be bumping.
720 screen.
Yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, I remember like for me in university, the big game was Knights of the Old Republic, and again, I don't know the spoilers again. I don't know. So the game's old
This
enough.
whole
Too bad.
episode, yeah.
Um, at least not spoiling quite the ending, I guess, sort of. But so the way Knights of the Old Republic works is that you're a Jedi. You wake up on this ship that's being attacked, and they're like, oh, the Sith are after us. We have to do this, whatever. So you're going through the game, and it works out where you can either be bad or good, depending on your choices. And there's some characters that you can recruit, bad or good. Again, it's BioWare in its heyday, so it's got excellent storytelling. But you get to a certain point where you learn that the Sith Lord that everyone fears, and that everyone that has almost taken over the entire galaxy but has gone missing. You're him,
Mm,
and that was again like I wasn't
mind
really.
blowing.
Oh, it was just crazy. Like I wasn't really. I think the internet would obviously have been around by then, but I wasn't really into going on the web for like looking up video game stories or whatever. I was probably more like downloading ROMs, but
Yeah, like
um,
I wasn't as nerdy as Casey was on the forums.
yeah, yeah. I was. Well, if I'd have known the forums existed, I'm sure I would have been there. But um, yeah, seeing the Darth Revan reveal is just, yeah, it was a crazy moment for me. Like
Mm.
it was surprising, and loved it. Like it's just again another game that I was really in a CRPG craze that back then too. So
Yeah, well, it's funny, I guess. Excuse me. I see, we've got PC sort of listed up there with PS1, but I guess around I'm looking right. So Final Fantasy X released in 2001. So I guess around that time, a moment that was really hype for me, and as well as the PC world, would be um, the World of Warcraft trailer, like the very first reveal. Um, let's see, reveal trailer date. I know that was early, but I remember seeing it and like being like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? Like I was like,
yeah,
"This is unfreaking believable!" Like it was so sick. And then I remember they're like, it's going to be an MMO where you got to pay $15 a month. And I was like, oh, they completely lost interest. I was like, yeah, fat chance that my mom's going to like be like buy me this game and then like spend $15 a month on it.
yeah,
So I was like, yep, never mind. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big moment then because Blizzard, obviously, in the early 2000s, were popping off with StarCraft, the Warcraft games, Diablo. So to get into the MMO business was definitely a big news. And then obviously it went on to just be one of the biggest games of all time. So
mm. And Blizzard has had direct access to your bank account ever since.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. I guess now. Whew, it's been almost no, over 20 years. I don't know. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I guess it's been over 20 years of World of Warcraft, which is wild. But yeah, I know. I remember seeing like the people that were like had like 10 years of like active subscription time. Like Blizzard sent them like really cool like statues um as like a thanks. Thanks for
Oh, and
giving us all this money, sucker.
yeah, and they shafted you even with all the hours that they've given you.
Yep, yep. Didn't have my
Buggers, eh?
my active sub all the time.
Yeah. I was 2 hours short.
Yep, I messed up.
Yeah, I still remember. I guess I was on the internet at this point. The Leroy
Yeah, Leroy.
Jenkins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was an epic moment. Oh, it's just funny to think like how because I feel like WoW like was I mean it was popular. Obviously, it was very good and like people liked it, but like it was before like Facebook, right? Where it's like well like people could go on Facebook and talk to people like because there were so many times and I probably said it a million times before where it's like you just go into game and you're not really doing anything but literally just like running in circles, but like you're talking to your friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Now
I
you got
definitely.
Discord.
Sorry.
I said now you got Discord. You don't need to go
Yeah.
in game.
No. Yeah. I'm trying to think of. I've never been much of an online like multiplayer gamer. That's for sure. But again, it's one of those things like when you're not. I don't know. I just in the time. I'm trying to remember like I guess I think in America you guys probably had access to the internet a little earlier too. So
I'm trying to think. I mean, I can't remember exactly when I got my first computer, but it was definitely early. But I mean, Diablo 2, let's see, that released in like 2000. Yeah. June of 2000. So I was on before then because I was playing Diablo 1. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was probably like 97. So it came out in 97. So sometime between 97 and 99 is when I first really started probably playing online.
okay, yeah, I'm trying to because I remember the internet really wasn't like it was around, but it was more like it wasn't really
Yeah.
anything much other than a curiosity, and until my university days, which would have been like early 2000s, 2001.
Yeah, I
And even then,
remember.
we only had dial up for the longest time. It was like so long before we got like DSL or
Yeah,
anything that
I was
like
always
that.
like a step behind my neighbor. So like it was dial up, but like it was like it was before AOL. So it was I don't remember Netscape. I don't remember. And then they had AOL, and then everyone with AOL Instant Messenger was like, "Oh, mom, we need AOL. Like, come on, we need AOL." Then we finally get AOL, and then then my neighbor got like DSL or whatever it is with like you said, like the broadband. So like they didn't need to,
Yeah.
because they'd be like, "Mom, can I play some Diablo? I'm waiting for a phone
Yeah, I
call."
was gonna say, get off the
Yeah,
phone.
and it'd be like, oh, or like God forbid someone called mid gaming session. It was like, oh
Yeah, it kicks it.
God,
Yeah, I remember that. I remember getting mad at my grandparents once
yeah,
I was playing
stop
something online,
calling.
and yeah, somebody called and like kicks off the internet, and then threw me out of my game, and I was just like livid.
Yeah, I remember when we got it to where you didn't need to do dial up, and it was like, yeah, what a game changer! Like, oh, we don't need to ask mom to freaking play computer games anymore. Like this is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what a wild time! I'm trying to think of. I know it's funny we're talking about the PS2 era, and I'm just sticking to the Final Fantasy games, but um,
I mean,
uh,
potato, right? The same. That's what I
yeah,
think of when I think of PS2 and Final Fantasy, like RPGs.
yeah, because Final Fantasy 12 was a big game for me. That was I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's any moments per se that jump out at me other than I don't know if you've ever played 12 or near the beginning or a few hours in. There's this one scene where the main character Vaughn has to pretend to be one of the other characters, and he's just walking around town saying, "I'm Bosch von Rosenberg." And it's just like,
I,
oh my god, this is so irritating.
I did play some of that, but I ruined it myself. It was one of those games where I was playing on 3 speed a lot to the point, and then with the Gambit system,
Oh
like
yeah,
I was just not doing anything. It was just like I was running from point A, like letting it do it, and then I'd like get to a boss, and I'd be like, well, I'll just run the Gambit system again." Yeah. No, I'd like to go back and play that game sometime.
yeah. Square Enix is always one step ahead of everybody. They had an AI system in place long before the hellscape that it is now. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know Paige had a Dragon Quest 8 on here. Can't unfortunately, I haven't played much of 8. I think I've only played a few hours, so I can't speak to the true ending, which she put down here.
Mm. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
never played 8 either. Played 7 on the DS or 3DS, and from what I remember, or I remember looking back and it being a big LOL moment when like Dragon Quest 7 really like showed what they had, and then Final Fantasy 7 was like, "Hold my jock strap, boys."
Yeah.
But
I'm trying.
Dragon Quest 7 is a really good game too, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like what RPGs I played on GameCube, and
Thousand
what's
Year
fun.
Door.
Yeah, I didn't play. I didn't play back then. Like I played it
Yeah, you did.
recently.
Really.
Yeah.
I guess what else was there?
The funniest one for me
Crystal
is
Chronicles.
oh man, no, I didn't get the joy of playing that game until recently.
I got well, like I said, I had the joy of playing it as it was meant to be played with a GBA link cable. Um, and yeah, I remember like what a hodgepodge random foursome from my high school of kids that came together and played that game. But yeah, that was when I was definitely a Nintendo fanboy, and that was one of those like hook, line, and sinker, and all these crazy, wacky endeavors they do.
I remember a buddy of mine was like, "Have you? They got this game on GameCube. It's such a huge RPG. It needs 2 discs." And it was Tales of Symphonia. And
Yep.
so I looked everywhere for that game. It took me forever to finally find a copy, and I remember it being expensive, and I never played it.
I played a good amount of that game. I had the collectors, or not the collectors, the player's choice edition. I remember the yellow spine.
Oh yeah,
Um, And I remember it's a long game, but yeah, I remember playing it and enjoying it, but I never actually beat it.
I heard it was 100. I was told it was 100 hours, but I don't
I'm
know if
looking
that's.
right now to see how long. It says 46 and a half. But if you want to do completionist, I guess it could get really crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't remember why. I remember enjoying it, but I never got around to beating it.
Yeah, I was Tales of Arise is the only Tales game that I've like kept that's kept my interest from beginning to finish.
Yeah, I feel like I played that and stopped too. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. It's one of those series like it's not bad, but yeah, for whatever
Yeah.
reason, it doesn't have that. It's not as sticky as some of these other games.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's other PS2 games that I'm just blanking on in the moment that people are probably like
Yeah, what
shouting
the
at
heck?
their phones right now. Like, I can't believe he's not talking about this game. Um, but yeah, I guess we can move on to the PS3 era or the Dark Ages that
Mm.
some like the Japanese fans out there might call.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm like trying to think. I guess um, would be for me, right? Look, I didn't have a PS3. I did have the 360, but yeah, I remember getting like Blue Dragon. Remember that game?
Another game I own but have yet to play.
Yeah, I think that was. I remember it was like hyped up because it was like from like legendary game makers.
Sakaguchi.
But like I don't think it ever really was that great. But I guess for me, it would be from the Wii, and I didn't play it till years later. Would be Xenoblade Chronicles, right? Like I
Yep.
think that's probably the pinnacle. Um, and then I guess you also had like the last story. I never played that one, but like I remember that being hyped up as well. Um,
I guess you didn't play it with. It's funny. It must have been 5 years ago that we played it. I remember playing it and I remember beating it and I remember
the
and
last story.
yeah, and I remember beating it because either the last boss or the second to last boss was defeated by a banana peel.
That's funny.
Yeah. Um I almost want to say the second to last boss. Like, you throw a banana peel at him and he just falls on it and I can't remember if he like insta dies or if he just can't attack anymore because he's just slipping on the banana peel and you just shoot him or something, but
It's
I
like
just
using the revive on the ghost train,
yeah.
phantom train.
Yeah. And because I remember when we were playing it, I saw that online. People were like, "It's one of the easiest bosses in history. Just throw a freaking banana at him."
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
when I got to him, I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll throw the banana at him." And I'm like shocked that it worked. Um, I don't remember a whole lot from last story though. I remember being in a city, and then
Yeah.
you go out into like the country and some
I remember
weird
the
like
art
I don't know.
style. I think
Yeah.
was cool looking, but
Again, it was another one of those like you have to play it because it's Sakaguchi, it's Mistwalker.
yeah,
And then I was like, yeah, it's all right.
yeah. Well, there's a reason why Xenoblade has four more games in the series or whatever it is.
Any big moments from Xenoblade that stand out to you?
I feel like Xenoblade's always those games that have like a million oh my god
Yeah,
moments. I guess just for me was just how grand of the adventure felt. You know what I mean? Like the world, like with the Mechonis and Bionis, like the two huge worlds, and like you don't even get over to the Mechonis for like seemingly forever, and then there's like just as much more stuff over there to do. Um, so I guess for me would be like again, I think I played this in 2013, so this was after the Wii U was already out. Um, I think it's just that I guess for me that it lived up to like the billing, like sometimes you have those games like oh you got to play this, it's so amazing, Nino Cooney, oh my god, and then you
yeah.
play it and it sucks. Um,
Nino Kuni 2. We should specifically say Nino
uh,
Kuni 2 was the one that
Nino
sucked.
Cooney 2 was god awful, but Nino Cooney 1 even so. I think for me the problem with 1 is that the hype was too high. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people like, guys, this is like one of the greatest games of all time, and then you play, and it's definitely not bad, but it sure as heck ain't in any conversation of the best game ever.
Yeah.
And then 2 is like just a steaming pile of crap.
Yeah, I had doubts when the game started with like some kind of modern day president going into medieval times and then throwing boogers at dice and stuff. I'm like, this
We
is going
should
downhill fast.
we should have known it when they gave us like a Booker keychain when we
Yeah.
pre-ordered the game. Like, oh no, what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah.
I remember we were hyped though. We were like, let's free because we did it like the day before it came out. I was like, let's do it. We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Uh
See, I'm less annoyed by it because we both experienced the exact same thing at the same time.
oh yeah. If it was just one or the other, and you didn't have like, yeah, you didn't like you couldn't bounce off how ridiculous it was.
There's some humor in the shared misery.
Yeah, misery loves company, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that whole era for me was mostly like Western RPGs because like because I had an Xbox 360. I don't even remember why.
Skyrim was that?
I had a PS3 as well, but I think I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure I had a PS3 first, and then there just wasn't a whole lot. Like the Final Fantasy 13 was obviously why I bought it, and then I just didn't like it because it was like just a big long hallway. And then I can't remember what else I would have played on the PS3 because I ended up getting the 360, and then I went that's where I played all my BioWare games. So like
Was that
massive,
Skyrim was 360, right?
yeah, that was when it first came out. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
So
Man.
well, you had Skyrim, and then you have Fallout 3. Because one of the big
Dark
moments for
Souls,
me.
right? Or Demon Souls,
Oh
Dark
yeah,
Souls.
Demon Souls. Yeah. Nuking Megatown was a big moment for me. Not only because it was just crazy the fact that you could actually nuke a town, but also that just like the build up to that, where it's like you're siding with like all the rich arseholes over in a the tower like nearby, and yeah, it's just and it was on the second playthrough I did it because I was too chicken to do it on the first one. I'm like, I don't know, these guys don't seem so bad. Why would I nuke the whole town? Um, yeah, that was a big moment. And then Skyrim was like, again, Skyrim's a game where there's just like 100 different things that happen that just blow your mind. Like, even the game, just starting the game where, you're in the wagon as a prisoner and you're about to be beheaded, and like this massive dragon just comes down and just like blowing everything up, and um, the whole like just like running for your life. Going down to cavern to get away from the dragon, and yeah, there's so many moments like climbing the mountain at near the beginning of the game, I guess. Just the joining the Assassin's Guild. There's some crazy moments. Taking down the Emperor, like, man.
Mm. Like I said, I probably told this story a bunch of times, but yeah, I played Skyrim for like an hour, and that moment was like oh my god, like the the quest was just like, yeah, there's this lady in the cave and she's evil, we got to kill her,
Yeah,
like you
I
like
know what you're talking about.
yeah, I forget like the exact whether she stole something or she's a witch or whatever. But
Yeah,
then you go out there and you're like, all right, I'm gonna kill this lady, and you get out there and then she's like, no, don't kill me, like they're actually the douchers, and you're like,
yeah,
and you can say screw you and kill you, or it could be like, well, you know what, I'll hear you out. And then we go to town, and then like, that guy's like, oh, I thought you were gonna kill her, and then like my options are like, oh, well, I brought her here so you could, or like, oh, we're here to kill you, and like just how many times you could like flip on the fence in
yeah,
like one quest line. I remember just being like, holy cow, like this is really incredible. Like how many times I could like the quest could have just been over. I could have went, killed her, and that's it.
yeah,
But like having that option to like, well, like let me hear her out, and then actually just kidding, like we still hate you, like to have that many options was really cool. So
yeah.
I've all these games, like I need to play them, but like that's one day I'm gonna get to Skyrim.
Yeah. Mass Effect 2, the ending of Mass Effect 2 is a big one. I remember playing through the game, and then so you're building relationships throughout the whole game, and then you go on a suicide mission at the end, and then every time I lost somebody, like it was like a knife to the heart. I was like, no, no, we can't lose them. What was happening? And then I remember getting through it, and I think I lost like half my team, and I'm like, this, so sad or whatever. And then I'm like reading online that it's like, here's the way that you can keep everyone alive, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, there's another way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to play through it again, get the good ending, and then yeah, that's just like, well, in that moment, like when you're going through and you're like assigning people the tasks of like, oh, I think there's like a point where you need to send someone to like into enemy territory on their own to hack a door to open or whatever, and you have to pick the right person to so they stay alive, and then you find a bunch of humans that have been captured that you got to send someone back. You need to spend a specific person back with them so that they all make it back to the ship and stuff, and it's just like it's just so like you're stressed out the whole time. It's like you're just running for your life through this base, and then when you finally win, it's just crazy. And then the game kind of ends on a cliffhanger too, because it's setting up the next game or whatever. So it's just like, man, like what a thrill ride.
And then you pick it up on the Wii U, the third one, and it remembers nothing because it's the only one on the Wii U.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah, I've never played Mass Effect, so I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know.
yeah. It's
But
just,
I've
I'm
never
trying.
played any of those games. Really.
That's because you're loyal to the Japanese RPGs.
Yeah, yeah. Screw the West.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what other games like. The thing with video games then too is like I feel like the big games on PS3 were like I remember GTA's being big in that era.
Well, yeah, there always be big.
Yeah.
I guess like because yeah, like I'm trying to look what you had like Batten Kaitos. I didn't really play those games.
No.
Um,
Oh,
you had
the
there
Batman
were some Fire
Arkhams.
Emblem games for GameCube, or one I should say. There's one for GameCube, one for Wii. I had that one. I played it, but I never beat it. I guess you got like the Harvest Moon games, nah, nah, nah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like GameCube really didn't have like too many bangers,
No.
Um, really, like I feel like Thousand Year Door is really when I think of JRPGs for GameCube.
Yeah, like that. I'm just thinking like that whole era was more. It was almost like the action adventure game. It just took over because like I think of like for PS3, the game I just it hit me the Uncharted games. Like I played those on PS3.
I played um the collection on PS4, and I played through all three. Like honestly, Uncharted is great. They should really bring that game back.
I'm shocked there hasn't been a new one yet. Like it's
Yeah, I feel like they went hard on it, and then they were like, "Yep, we're gonna for sure chill," and like have actually, and I guess it, from Naughty Dog's perspective, when The Last of Us is popping off, it's like, well, let's keep rolling there.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd definitely like to, like Uncharted was so good. Oh, give us another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking what else, and then you had like the Rune Factory games. Nothing crazy there. Um, man, like what else? I mean, I know Xenoblade, but really, it's like
We didn't have a ton of RPGs really. Like I
it's
think
really
Xenoblade and Last Story were like the two big ones.
yeah, and I'm trying to yeah, there's really no good like Final Fantasy games there.
Even the Legend of Zelda game, like I did not like. Well, I don't even remember what it's called now.
I
Twilight.
guess,
No,
like I
what was
said,
the?
they did the Fire Emblem for Wii also.
Yeah. What was the Legend of Zelda game again? It was like the old timey one where they were up in the clouds.
Oh, Skyward Sword.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably like my least favorite Zelda.
Honestly, I replayed it for on this when it came out on the Switch. We did a I forget. I think I did. We did I Demand You or something. But
Yeah.
it's fun. It like 'cause yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting. I get rid of the waggle and everything, and you might like it better.
Yeah. Do you ever play Red Dead Redemption?
No, no. I know one of my brother's friends really loved Red Dead a lot, and yeah, I
Yeah.
never got around to playing it.
Because Red Dead had arguably one of the biggest. I don't. I'm trying to think if it would be considered an RPG because I don't know. I don't like that. There was no progression. I don't think it was kind of
Yeah.
like the big open world. Like that's
Yeah, but
like
your character's not leveling up per se.
yeah. Like I think you might get new weapons and stuff, but that its biggest moment again. Well, this is 15-year-old game. It feels like
Yeah,
you
fire
can still
away.
spoil. Uh,
Maybe give like edit in a spoiler warning the
yeah,
entire episode.
yeah, pretty much. Okay, if you don't want to hear the ending of Red Dead Redemption, skip like 2 minutes ahead. The game ends. So you're playing as, I believe, you play as James Marsden throughout the whole game, who's like an outlaw who's trying to go like good, like he's just wants to have a quiet life on a homestead or whatever. And so like throughout the whole game, he's like doing all these things, trying to stay good or whatever. And but old mob or whatever is still his old posse is still giving him grief or whatever. And but then you think you've got everything figured out, and at the very end of the game, um, he gets like blown away by like 12 people or something in his farm, and uh, the game ends with his son. It's like a time jump, and his son is an adult, and he like
Oh,
gets
jeez.
revenge. He gets revenge on the guys that killed his dad. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember the hype for Red Dead 2 was pretty crazy, but I feel like it didn't reach the levels that people talk about it as fondly as one.
yeah. I guess Dark Souls would have been around that time too.
Yeah, Demon Souls, Dark Souls. I guess even Dark Souls 3 was a PS3 game. No, 3 was actually I don't know. Dark Souls 3 was that a PS3 or 4 game?
You see,
Okay, PS4. So
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, the first two obviously. I mean, we I feel like we've talked a lot about how much we love Dark Souls. And yeah. I mean, the whole game. I feel like there's just so many moments.
yeah. Well, the first time dying is a big moment.
Yeah. Until you die like a million more times in a
Yeah,
couple minutes, you're like, oh, actually, that wasn't meaningful at all. Uh,
yeah,
I think for those, it's like that time when you beat the first boss, or just like the first boss that trips you up,
yeah,
like to be like, oh, okay, like I just put in a little time. This like, and then that, and also for me when like you find those early shortcuts where it's like, I think that was really a clicking moment for me. Is like slow and methodically working my way to the boss, and then you get absolutely trashed in like 5 seconds, and then
yeah,
like the next time running back, you're like, oh well, I can run by that guy a little bit. Oh, I know where he is and how to deal with him. And then next thing you know, it's like you're getting back so fast, and then you find the shortcut, and then it's like, oh my god, like this is game changing, like
yeah.
yeah, I feel like once like there's so many moments in that game that like things click, and it's like, oh, so good.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been playing a lot of retro games lately, and I get the same vibe from NES games now that Dark Souls is used in a more modern sense, like that whole idea of like uh, dying and then retrying, like
Hmm.
because I've seen that in a few of the games that I'm playing where it's like, oh, okay, I get to a certain point, I die, and then I get to the same point and I get a little farther, then I die, and it's like, man, I just I can't remember what game, maybe it was even like a Mega Man game or something where it's like it just hit me. It was like, man, this feels like a lot like my last experience with Dark Souls, where it's like I just keep dying, but I just keep coming back, and I like figure out how to get like, oh well, I can't do this on this boss, so I have to do it this way or have to do it that way, and yeah, it's just amazing to me that Dark Souls is able to kind of recapture that same spirit of just like die and retry, I guess.
Yeah, and and how at times it could seem so unfair, but yet it works.
Yep. Well, we kind of promised to split this up into three, so it might be a good place for us to finish things up here in the kind of PS3, Xbox 360 era. We'll even give Paige and Jordan an opportunity to chime in with some of their favorite games from this
Oh,
era,
some we
if we,
missed.
yeah, if we get it. I feel like we did the Final Fantasy fans proud though, with our PS1, PS2 era stuff. Um, sorry, we didn't. Final Fantasy 13 is just like one of those games where it's like it exists.
It's there.
It's there. It's it's got
I
some
do,
amazing cutscenes. I'll give it that. But
I do want to get around to playing that. I mean, I feel like all the games I haven't played, I want to get around to playing them.
yeah,
But yeah, I feel like the complaints people have for that game, I feel like wouldn't really bother me that much, So I'm curious if I did pick it up on sale, so one of these days.
yeah, I think I got about 5 or 6 hours into it. I want to say last year, but it could have been the year before. And at the beginning, I was kind of like, okay, maybe I was just giving it a hard time, but I could feel that feeling creeping in as the battles were getting a little more longer and more involved because it the thing with the battle system for Final Fantasy 13 is very convoluted in the sense that there's these jobs and then you change them on the fly, but then they all kind of have a different synergy. Like there always has to be like a tank and a healer and a fighter
Mm.
and depending, and then you have to like the boss will change their attack, and then you have to change each of the characters abilities to different. I don't know. I just remember being in the final boss and it just felt like work because it was like, okay, like you get like 5% of the boss down and then you got to make this switch, then you get another 5% down, you make a switch, and it just felt, I don't know, it felt like,
It's just shifting, yeah, like you're menuing stuff more than you're actually playing.
yeah, and it's like a boss fight shouldn't be an hour long, guys. This is ridiculous. Yeah. So and it felt like it was leading up to that point. So that's why I was like, I got distracted by something else. I always get distracted by other games. Like it's like I
You
always
like
feel
that
like
meme
the
with the
dog. I'm
guy
like a
and the girl
yeah
looking back,
yeah
right?
that's right yeah. I was thinking my attitude with video games is like a dog chasing cars.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Whoop. One way,
yeah,
the other way, the
there's
other way,
one,
the
there's one, there's one.
way.
Yeah, yes, that's me. But yeah, any final thoughts from you? Any big moments? Well, even from NES or SNES, any big moments that you wanted to share before we sign off here?
I guess
Do you have a number one in your mind for RPGs? The
what
biggest moment?
biggest moment. Oh man. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on the biggest moment. Um, I guess I guess for me, for like Super Nintendo, right? Like, I think a big moment was when I finally beat Super Mario RPG. I remember we'd borrowed it from my brother had borrowed it from his friend, and I was pretty young, so I was just a dumb idiot. And like you know what I mean. Like I remember calling my brother's friend and like asking him for help and like trying to like explain exactly where I was in the game and like what I needed to do. So I
Yeah,
feel like it was one of those ones like, oh man, like never beat it. Like I forget honestly even when the first time I did beat it, but it wasn't like that initial go.
yeah,
So I remember being like proud that like the next time I went back and it was like, oh, I didn't actually need a tons of help this time. I was a little less dumb, but still an idiot. But I did beat it. I guess also too, like Link to the Past isn't really an RPG, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think more on like some
yeah.
crazy top moments, but that'll be good for next week.
Yep. Yeah, and it's well, that's the thing is even as we get into the current gen of games and talk about those greatest moments, we could even talk about a lot of times like it's maybe not necessarily the greatest moment that gets talked about on online or with friends or whatever. But there's greatest moments to us. Like there's things that just kind of hit us differently. That'll be kind of neat to talk about. Like as a kid getting through a specific game that you never thought you would or something like that. So
and we could also I feel like we sort of talked about each sort of generation in terms of the home console, but we could also be bringing up next week, right? Since we got to talk about PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and I guess even we could probably touch on PS5 and stuff, but could just look back at some of the handhelds. There's so many good games out there. Between the Fire Emblems, some of the Final Fantasy games that came out on portable and all that good stuff. Probably worth talking about too. Mario and Luigi games.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, and until then, if anyone wants to talk about their favorite moment in RPG history, or if they want to talk about games or moments that we probably should have talked about that we maybe just forgot or missed, hit us up on the Discord. You can get there by going to thethirstymage.com and clicking on the little Discord symbol up in the top right. That'll bring you in, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you, and love to talk RPGs or anything video game related. Really, it's a great place on the internet to have a chat with folks. So, but I guess until then, we'll sign off for this episode and look forward to kind of wrapping up. Maybe if not next week, the week sometime in the future here on.
The near future.
Yeah, the near future. You never know with scheduling and all that stuff. But I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Bye for now.
Adios.